that was a missed decisive strike. So before the first gen even pops.
And we do see Death Wish convicted of murder here, as you can see by the score to the final set.
Hey, what it do? What it do? What it do? It's your boy, I'm your judge, your boy Q, and we've got back with me again, my friend. I need to point this way. I forgot I'm used to actually be on the other side of the screen. Counselor Spokerman, how you doing, homie?
I'm not too bad myself. It's been a wonderful introduction to Vigo's Court here, being with you on the desk here, and I feel like I'm fitting in quite well. I'm really enjoying the style of how things are run here, and just how unique it is as opposed to traditionally what you would see in the comp scene. So always a pleasure to be here. Excited for some more games tonight. Sorry.
I heard the train coming, and I wasn't sure if it was coming through my mic just yet, and I realized my window was open just a smidge. But yeah, I mean, I know we've been enjoying it, and now we've got our second matchup, more preseason action, modern retro versus Chronicle. And I believe both of them, it is their first time in Vigo's. At least they weren't in season 2. Kind of rated as far as in our preseason rankings, both of them kind of in the mid-pack. I think it's one of those where we see some potential. We just haven't seen, we've got some really strong and tough execution, or really tough, stiff competition right now. But I think with the teams that we see, like some of the rosters, we know they have some experience that could make some plays. So I'm going to be interested to see here real quick. As far as for today, though, we are, of course, going to be starting off on a, I wouldn't say the most common of maps when it comes to competitive. I mean, you see it from time to time, more so on recently it seems like, but the Deadest of Dogs, one of my favorite maps, really. It is, though, a rather small map. 6 hooks minimum, 11 hook maximum. That middle building can really cause some issues for some of our M1 killers. However, we also have to remember for our M1 killers that, otherwise the sides of it you can still kind of flex on. So a lot of options available here. Here, I should say.
Yeah, I feel like you always see it in all of Otstava's Adepts tutorials. You want to go to Dead Dog Saloon. It's a very small map. It's
Right.
Don't worry about main building. Just ignore that one. They'll pop the gen at the start of the game anyway. But in the competitive scenario, you know they're going to be saving that gen for last. So that main building is something to be terrified about. There's so much you can do with it, and I feel like a lot of teams will definitely be sure to capitalize on that. Seeing that Chronicles are the ones with this map here, their home map here, and we're going to be seeing them on the Survivor side as well starting off, so it'll be really interesting to see their performance here.
Yeah, and since we're going to be seeing Modern Retro on the killer side, real quick, I'm going to see how much I can get through this, because we're going to talk about how Modern Retro is going to be scoring points on the killer side here. So let's fix this. I thought we were fixing that during the intro, the intermission. That's my fault. You'll see everything else is running smoother, though. But of course, on the hooks, killer side, your job's pretty easy. You want hooks. 2 points for your first hook, 2 points for your second hook, 3 points for your third hook. You get progressions are 1 point less each. If you want to have any other questions, press exclamation point rules in chat, because we're actually moving right on down into it. Let's take another trip back into the fog, and we're getting spicy here on the Deadest of Dogs, starting off with my favorite anyways. We're seeing the Pinhead and finding the box right away, starting the chain hunt. This is spicy.
This is really, really spicy, and to be able to go for the box right away at the start of the trial is just insane game sense of knowing, most likely taking a guess. It's a very risky play because you're trying to guess where the survivors spawn, knowing where you spawn and sort of correlating that to figuring out where that box spawned. But a very unfortunate pallet stun there is going to stop that nasty hit through it. A really, really strong use of the chain here. Now we are going to be seeing some use of the paling wire. That's the only add-on that I really am familiar here with the Cenobite. It's not my go-to pick of killer, I will say that. So there's an absolute spam of chains. Also being in chain hunt, not able to get that hit through the window here. That medium bolt still managed to get him to safety. So that's really, really insane that he managed to make that. And we are now going to see how impressive this main building can be.
Yeah, now things are interesting because we're going to see Jukebox breaking chase does get an M1 onto the Megan. We see that Claudette does still just holding on to the box, might be holding that thing captive, because of course right now that does mean that only Claudette has to avoid the box and of course the chains that come with that. And the second one, I can't remember the name of it. I don't have it open at the top of my head, but it does make it when you break free, you get the men's status there. So kind of interesting. We saw Claudette start to solve the box, but then didn't, which does mean if they don't start solving that box like right now, Jukebox will have the ability to secure the hook and then teleport over.
Yeah, and we're going to be seeing, that was a pain resonance coming into play. So we have a Scourge hook at this deep part of the map here, and having a look at the way the gens are spread as well, we have what looks to be a 4 gen, including the gen near the water tower that we see on the bottom side of the map. Now, having a Scourge hook right in the middle of that, you are going to be able to cycle through pain resonance prompts so easily. It can be really, really impressive to play against. Now, I honestly feel like that the Claudette is struggling to open the box here, as the use of the paling wire spawning an extra chain after breaking a chain, constantly having to break those chains.
True.
She will have to take the deep wound state before solving the box, and that alone in itself there'll be a lot of progression to that deep wound before actually, and we're going to be seeing Claudette going through and solving that box now, but not in the deep wound state. Managed to find, it's very inconsistent with how the chains can really spawn. We'll see a 1-for-1 happening at the hook here and a broken status effect. This is actually going to be forced penance coming into play, as Nia was our rescuer here.
Wait,
my goodness.
What?
They dropped the pallet on the wrong side at the shack. They were still holding their shift key.
But she slaps him with the D. That is impressive. You're going to be able to build so much distance off of that. That is absolutely insane. That's big value.
Oh, it always is big value, especially when you're the one here to witness it, Q. Now, it was good that we saw Jukebox break the shack pallet before actually going through and yeah, before going through and going for the pickup with the obvious decisive being in play here, which we did see. Now, I'm not too sure where I was going with my train of thought earlier, but it was something to do with the chains being very inconsistent and finding a sweet spot where more chains won't spawn on you without having to actually go through and break them without abusing the environment. So a really nice chain onto Meg here, who is going to go into the deep wound status effect. I believe that's the original pin add-on.
Yeah, and I mean, that combo together, it's interesting. I feel like normally we see like a solve time add-on included, just because it does make things a little bit easier for you to be able to start the chain hunt. But maybe part of it was Jukebox here, seeing that, you know, we saw the box logic being used to start the chain hunt in the beginning of the game. And I feel like at this point, honestly, Jukebox is trying to kind of compound down some pressure to get back to using that box mechanic here. I'm not sure if Jukebox has a general idea of maybe where it is at this point in time, but we're actually going to be seeing Claudette's going to pick it up. Not sure if we're going to be able to put any sort of pressure on that here by the time we get the hook here. And that does, of course, mean there's going to be a little bit of time till we see or even have to worry about another chain hunt.
But unfortunately, the downside to that is we're going to be having another survivor hooked on the Scourge hook, which is going to put that 15% extra regression on the most progressed gen here, as well as if any survivors were to be working on it, they would scream to reveal their location here. But the survivors have been really well coordinated here, of Chronicles here, to get off those gens as the pain res happens, to throw the killer off thinking, well, there's no one working on this gen, they didn't scream, right?
Yeah, now one thing to keep in mind is there could be an option for a restart after this trial. And I don't remember if we caught it earlier, but actually pain resonance being banned. So we're gonna play this out at this point. It is part of our rules here where something like that, we'll play it out and allow the decision to be, wait.
Anyway.
Wait, what?
Claudette was just in the wrong place at the wrong time right there, I feel like. I'm just as speechless
Where
as
was
you right now.
Claudette at?
I don't know. She must have been
I'm so
hiding in a bush or
confused
something,
right now, man. I don't. That was insane. We do see though getting up off the ground pretty quickly here is the Claudette. Not sure if that's going to be unbreakable in play here. If it is, that's big because of course that's a second chance perk that gets used relatively early into the trial. You don't have to worry about it in the end game. Please, jukebox, please say it just once. Come on, for the people. No.
I don't think it would be the smartest thing to do right here, Q, especially when you got a pesky survivor trying to go for an unhook here. We can't allow that, so he's not going to came to the box, so to speak.
That is unfortunate. I mean, you know, I feel like he could have went for the people, gotten the soundbite, gotten a hit, and then came right back to the hook here. No, but I mean, you are right. Like obviously, right now in this situation where you would like to try and, as we can see here, putting some pressure elsewhere while still kind of being in the vicinity. Now finding the Meg though. Honestly, Jukebox throughout the course of this trial has done very, very well with, I mean, it seems like every M2 has found a connection. Oh, the M1, unfortunately not finding a connection, but a nice mind game, able to get the down here at the shack.
Oh, we're seeing some amazing mind games from both sides here, which is always just an absolute treat to see. At fake at the window is not something you'd commonly see a comp player falling for, but I get just as embarrassed every time I fall for it in a pub game, so I feel for you there, Jukebox. Don't even worry about it. But we are going to be seeing some absolutely phenomenal. I don't think I've seen him miss a chain yet. This is insane.
Yeah, I don't. And again, even right as you mention it, and that's where, of course, with the impaling wire, if you do see, I mean, every time you try to not use the environment to break the chains, but sometimes you just need to, which then puts extra chains on. And oh man, just honestly, so much pressure that Jukebox is able to put in Chase. But for as much pressure as Jukebox has had, we see our survivors have been able to crush out all 5 generators here. So now at this point, I think we have 3 fresh hooks. Would that be right?
I'll be honest with you, I think we are currently at 3 fresh hooks, but regardless of whether it's a fresh hook or the second hook, it would still award the same amount of points though, correct?
Right, I was just trying to think if we even had anybody that was close to being eliminated, and I don't think we have anybody on death hook here.
I mean, we're at 4 stages right now, and actually only at 2 fresh hooks, as we can see
Oh,
here.
true.
Oh my gosh!
Oof.
These hits through the pallets, man, and here we see why we only have the 2 fresh hooks, as No Way Out has just procced on the further exit gate with those 2 stacks here. So we do have survivors at Death Hook with 4 stages and 2 fresh hooks. That's 2 survivors at Death Hook ready to go, but this is a fresh hook right here onto our Claudette. So ideally we're going to want to find, I believe it's either the Nia or the Meg, who have both been hooked twice each.
Yeah, I
if I'm
think.
not mistaken.
Yeah, I think if I am not mistaken, we've got the Meg, who has been hooked twice, and then I believe it's actually the. No, yeah, you're right. The Meg, yeah, it'd be the Meg and the Nia. You are right. There would be the 2 who've been hooked. So I mean, to be fair, right now with it being the end game, maybe, especially with being so close to doors, realistically, our survivors want to make sure they're keeping Ace safe, right? Because Ace has the opportunity to, one, not only escape limiting the hook stages, but also you could get the extra escape point there as well.
Now, I don't know how I feel about the 4th second here. I feel like it would have been smarter to, I mean, at least getting the 1 point for forcing second, as you do lose a point for forcing the stage.
Yeah.
You'd ideally want to go for the Meg or the Nia, because not only getting those 3 points for getting the kill, you also deny the survivors an escape, putting it from 6 points to 4 points for getting the 3-man out. So I think all in all, that would be the best outcome. But regardless, you just want to get a kill here, regardless of who it is. But the best bet would be, and we see a really nice follow-up with the chain here, but it's not enough distance to catch up, as we have our survivors with the body blocks here, and that's going to be the 4-man escape for the survivors here, giving them that full 6 points.
Yeah, so you've got, so you talk about on your escape point side, that is 6 points for the 4th escape, plus the 4 points for the 3rd escape. That's 10 points, then 2, and then 1, 13 points on the escape side, which leads you to the total point on the survivor side right now of 23 to 6. Now part of that is going to be because of that point penalty here that we had talked about, because of the
pain resonance.
Because of the pain resonance. Now we are going to have the option to replay that, but I would imagine for the survivors having that type of performance, like, I don't see them risking replaying that, right? Like, they'll take the 2-point penalty and just be, I would imagine, vibe, right?
Yeah, but it would be a killer that would take the penalty for bringing the pain resonance, right? And it would have to be in agreement with both teams to want to restart that match, I would have to assume, right? Or would it be on the survivor's side to make that choice, as it was the killer who made the offense?
From my understanding, and maybe I'll get corrected in the background and look like a dummy, which is perfectly fine. I'm kind of used to that here in Vigo, so that's perfectly fine. But I believe that calls on the survivors, which is why there was an option to restart at the end.
Yeah, okay. No, that makes a lot of sense to me then. The survivors would definitely not want to restart that with the performance that they put on, so I definitely think we're going to be moving on to modern retro on the survivors side.
Oh,
I am.
So I am getting corrected in my ear by a little birdie. I'm an idiot. I'm sorry, Chad. This is the preseason. This is what we do, man. It is the penalized team that has the option to, but I am guessing. Okay, hold on.
I think I'm getting that little whisper as well.
Yeah.
We'll tune in a bit, see if we can.
I was right. Listen, I was right. I was right. Yeah, let's go.
I never doubted you for a second.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad someone did, because I doubted myself there for a minute too. But yeah, we are getting our side switched here, so we are going to be seeing Chronicles switching to the killer side, and they're up on the point total, which is tough because we have to remember here in Vigo's court, you have the ability to score more points on the killer side than the survivor side. So starting off at this rate is... Bro, what'd you remove me for? Oh my god.
Go on, get him back in. Let's get him back. No, but yeah, I see how that could be really stressful for modern retro, being obviously at the point disadvantage going into this next game. You don't really have the ability to get more, well, the maximum number of points you can realistically get is obviously capped on both sides, but it's more tough on the survivor's side, not being able to get as many points, than the killer. But still, a good performance can put them ahead.
So this is one of those interesting things, right? Because I feel like if you're in the season, you might switch up whoever you were thinking about bringing in. Because normally you would come in, I feel like from what we saw last season in Vigo's, normally you come in kind of with a game plan. This is what I'm probably using in Trial 2, and this is who I'm probably using in Trial 3 as the killer right now, right? At least when we're talking about for Chronicles here. But with that being the case, what's interesting for me is it is the preseason. Do you think maybe, since you took such a good lead on the Survivor side, if you have an off-meta killer here, especially on a map like Dead Dog that we mentioned, right, has... Like, Dead Dog isn't what... Like, Dead Dog's one of those maps where, like, M1s can still shine, right? Because it's smaller. Do you think maybe we see something more off-meta here? I mean, obviously we saw Pinhead last round, which was, I think, a risk, but we saw a lot of good uses out of. But what do you think we see this round?
I feel like it's a lot more difficult to make a call with a map like Dead Dog Saloon, as there's a lot more killers that have the potential to do well on this map.
Agreed.
That being said, it would be, crazy to see something like a Bamboozle Legion with Eerie Button and all that fun stuff and go to town at the main building kind of thing. You never know what you could see on Dead Dog Saloon, basically.
I mean, if Chronicles wants to give the people of Vigo's court what they want, we know that Legion, we saw Susie or Riot in the chat plenty of times over the course of season 2. So, I mean, for the people, maybe for the people, hook it up and maybe hook us up with a Legion as far as on deck. I mean, it would be a bad idea. I do feel, though, as far as preseason, Chronicles, here's the other thing, right? If you're Chronicles, since you're up, you kind of have the ability, nobody in Vigo, I don't think, will have like really much tape on you. They weren't in Vigo's last season. Maybe since you're up here on killer side, you can kind of hide a little bit of your hand here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you definitely have a little more room to be creative with what you pick here, and we'll definitely be very interested to see what we see coming out here. But I can't really say there's any specific killer I want to see right now, but it will be nice to see something that's a bit off meta and not a very common pick.
I mean, especially after following up the last one, because I feel like that last round, even though we're talking about how well Chronicle did, like on the Survivor side, I feel like it was a good Pinhead performance. It's just, that's kind of the tough thing about Pinhead. We saw got the very early, you use box logic, you get the chain hunt started early. The chain hunt went for what, probably the good first third of the trial or so. It's just unfortunately once the team seemed to kind of get coordinated and the machine, the gears were oiled and up, it just they seemed to kind of prevent the chain hunt from there out pretty well.
Yeah, no, we definitely saw some great counterplay to the regular play style, or just how the game pans out when you're up against a Pinhead. And more notably, I wanted to touch on the use of the box with the Claudette. I think to highlight anything from that trial, I think that Claudette, up until, getting caught at that little filler pallet at the front of main building, I don't know what happened there. I don't think anyone does, but the way that they managed the box and sort of managed those chain hunts, I think was a pretty good performance. Sorry, English is a very tough language. So,
what if we spice things up a little bit? And I mean, we are on the deadest of dogs. What if we let homeboy Caleb get some home field advantage here?
You're just always keen to see some Deathslinger, aren't you?
I mean, I know a lot of people, like when the nerf came, I guess now it was like what, 4 or 5 months ago that the change to Deathslinger came across, but a lot of people thought that it would be the end of Deathslinger in comp, and I think what we have seen, I think I can say from what we saw through season 2 and even what I've seen kind of in comp through across the way, we don't see him as much, and he does have a different play style for sure, but still seems to be just about as comp viable with his changes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I feel like that the way that Deathslinger was being played before the rework just it never sat right with me being like a jump scare death slinger, just taking advantage of your small terror radius and then stacking monitor and abuse on top of that for an even smaller terror radius to just give the survivors no counterplay, no time to react to already being in range of a shot before you even know he's anywhere near you.
Oh, you hear me? Bang, bang, hold on to this, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, so I'm happy that that's gone, but I think that happened before the change to the ADS came into play, if I'm not mistaken. Or was the terror radius change at the same time too?
Yeah, it was the same time.
Okay.
But since we already saw all of our offerings and everything, since Modern and Retro is on the Survivor side, probably wanting to cut into this lead a little bit here. Let's go ahead and talk about how that works. Of course, on the Survivor side, your objective's pretty simple, right? Do generators. Your first 2 generators get you 1 point. The second pair of generators 3 and 4 get you 2 points, and the 5th generator gets you 3 points. Of course, doing generators isn't the only thing you do on the Survivor side. On DVD, of course, you got to break. No, you don't break bones. Oh, you have to. But as far as points, the escape. First escape, 1 point, 2 points. The third escape, though, is 4 points, and the fourth escape, a whopping 6 points, which is why we have this big lead that we're talking about right now from Chronicle. Extra scoring points if you happen to escape with 1 hook or less. So if you're either fresh hook or only with 1 hook, you do get an extra bonus point there as well. And yeah, I know loading times in DVD really isn't normal a thing, but no, I'm just kidding here, Chad. It does look like we're actually got ourselves a game. Let's go ahead and take another trip on back into the fog. And, here is a killer that I am always down to watch in some comp DVD. We're going to be seeing some demo dog on the deadest of dogs.
Oh, this is absolutely awesome to see. Some more Demogorgon, just for a bit of context. Q and I have been casting quite a few Demogorgon games lately, and the use of add-ons that we're seeing here, the Leprost Lichen and the Barb's Glasses, seems like a very universal choice of add-ons for the Demogorgon, getting that aura reveal with the use of the portals here, as well as the faster breaking time of pallets and breakable doors. Really disappointed about missing that shred there, it seems, as our killer goes a little AFK at the shack here. This is all a big mind game in itself, as he's going to get the hit onto the Atom here. Really nice plays here from the demo puppy.
What? Do you think that was a mind game, or do you think it was a quick, it's okay, I know I should have hit that, but now I'm going to turn around and get this hit here. Now going into what's kind of like the 4-lane across from the shack that's here every time you spawn into the iteration onto the deadest of dog. Now moving to the water tower here, and we do want to be careful with this chase. Ooh. We're chasing Criminal Adam, and if I had to guess, this is the juicer of our group here. If staying true to the lore, we're going to be seeing the Dead Hard to be able to make it to the corner here. And at this point, got a body block coming in from our ace. So we now have 2 injured survivors. There is no ruin right now protecting these generators. So right now, even when ace happens to come over, if he was on a gen, that gen isn't regressing, you need to get it down, because we're already about 115, 110 seconds into the trial, and we've got 2 injured survivors, but no hooks.
Yeah, no, we did see an amazing Dead Hard from Adam here, but Lucky Break has fully expired throughout this entire chase. Criminal Adam with the Lucky Break and the Dead Hard here has still managed to stay up, as the whole team is injured right now, with the first gen already popping across the ways. This could snowball into a pretty bad position for Modern Retro here. They've done a really good job at keeping that Atom up, but are they going to be able to keep those resets up as well? Oh my goodness, by the hair of his chinny chin, he manages to get away from that lunge. The Survivor's doing a really good job, actually. Zarina with the medkit being able to reset herself up quick enough to be able to take another body and then take the aggro off of the Atom here.
And that's going to be tough. We have the pre-drop. Oh, and the nice lunge. And unfortunately, Zet getting caught on the corner, not going to be making connection with the pallet, which means 1, the pallet can still be used, and 2, it is still, you didn't get the break, and you weren't able to get the quicker reloads or the quicker cooldowns, so you weren't able to get the distance quite close the same way. And we're going to be seeing Zarina now moving towards the shack, faking a quick blow, able to get the M2. Trying to tuck at the pallet, not able to get it.
Man, That had potential to be a frame perfect stun right there, to be honest. It's really tricky. When you really want to get a pallet down quickly, the smartest way to do it, at least in my experience, is to let go of the shift key once you know you're in a position to drop that pallet and just let it rip. Let go of shift, hit that space bar or whatever button you use if you're on controller, PC. Having your sprint key being held down actually delays the pallet dropping animation for just a little bit. That's the difference between life and death sometimes. And no amount of mechanical skill will... Oh, hold on a second. I don't know if you guys heard that one, but we saw our demo puppy staying away from that hook for a very specific reason, as we heard a little token gain. I think we've got some Devour Hope coming into play, Q.
Yeah, it could be interesting. I'm not exactly sure. I mean, it was interesting kind of seeing us waiting right on the outside there, but now moving towards the shack. And this can be a pretty strong loop. We have to remember, we've been in this trial for a while. I mean, we can even hear this generator up here at the main building does have about 85, probably even 90%. I mean, that thing going click-clack like an old school Cadillac, just about ready to go. Unfortunately, Adam getting caught out of position, though, so that is going to be another health state change. And you saw another very quick reset, and Adam getting caught before the pallet. And this is going to be a down right next to this generator, which could allow Zet to at least patrol this next to a hook, but I imagine we're going to be seeing a basement here.
Now, before this hook even happens here, I don't think he's going to go for the pickup as of just yet, as we do see some survivors hanging around here. A really nice fake of the window. They're not going to be able to get the health state change onto our Adam there, I believe that was. Now, we have another survivor. This is now Ace here, sorry. I'm getting the survivors confused. A little bit of a waste of the firecracker, unfortunately, which could have been used for the save here, but our killer here would know not to pick up right in the face of a firecracker survivor. Gonna be able to get this hook onto our Adam here, which should be the second... No, this is the fresh hook, sorry, onto our Adam here, the second hook of the trial. So that's 2 fresh hooks right now, and about to get some more value from that Lycan to get an idea of where our survivors are right now.
Yeah, I mean, and we see again, waiting in, gonna be getting the big lunge off the top of the Gallows here, gonna be closing the distance here. We have so many gens with so much progress right now. Seeing generator number 3 popping across the way. We've got 3 injured survivors across the board, not able to get the pixel perfect stun. This is now going to be another lunge. However, not finding the connection is Zet. Zet is going to be able to very quickly, though, break this pallet in between the rocks. We're actually very quickly depleting the resources over on this side of the map, as we do have a couple of gens over here to protect, but we also know most of these gens are very, very far along.
And especially part of the reason for that. Oh, nice pallet stun from Zarina there. Gonna have to... Ooh, we've got a survivor coming in for a body block here. Great work by our Claudette here, but we've had Deadlock coming into play this trial here, which has slowed down... Oh, was that a life in the killer's face?
Oh, that was indeed our friend Zarina here, showing that life is indeed life, but Zet... playing very, very safe, able to get the down here, and also going to be really close to the basement yet again, and I anticipate that that's going to be where this is going. The question that I can't help but ask myself was if you were going to be able to get done before that generator up there popped, and unfortunately that wasn't the case.
At this point, though, we haven't seen Pop Goes the Weasel come into play or any other slowdown perks like that. The only slowdown we've really had going on right now is Deadlock, which has done a really good job at entity blocking this gen that would have otherwise been completed here. So that's going to hang around at this gen here and wait for it to unblock to get a kick onto it and wait for that rescue to happen, which hasn't happened as of quite yet. Trying to stay in a good enough... Oh, we do see the aura revealing from the Lycan coming into play here as he spotted out the survivors going for the reset here. And that was a beautiful, beautiful shred onto our Claudette here.
Oh yeah, trying to make the connection onto the Adam here as well, trying to spread the pressure. There is going to be generator number 3 or 5 popping off in the distance. 3? What game am I watching right now? We do see though that our demo puppy here is not only a vaulter, but could indeed also be a Walter coming right through. We do see now though, right after the unhook, that is going to be Devour Hope coming into play with the instant down here in the end game. This is kind of perfect timing coming because we see the no way out across the way, proxying with 2 stacks. So 36 seconds before our survivors can work on the doors. And we have to remember that we had talked about you can't use no-ed with the no way out for season 3, but having 3 stacks of devours, kind of like the same thing.
Yeah, pretty much. I was just about to make a little joke about how we've got budget no way out coming into play here, except this time it's actually working. The wish.com version of Devour Hope with 4 stacks right now. Quartet going into the edge map here, going down to the Devour Hope now. Unfortunately, no way out has expired as Zat hasn't been able to get enough fresh hooks to slow down that end game for longer. But I feel like this rescue is going to be a difficult one to go for. But the Devour Hope gets cleansed across the way. Zed didn't have enough time to get the hooks going, get the aura revealing to see if the survivors are near the hook, but at least he still gets the little speed boost afterwards. And wow, what a hit take that was.
Yeah, able to take, I mean, it's at least less stages, right? And we do see though, Zet right now not settling, knowing that the no way out just recently expired, so maybe able to make a play. Wow, was a very quick pickup on to the Claudette there, which is very, very intriguing. Now getting the hit on to the ace though. Down goes our ace onto the ground, pretty close to the basement. I would imagine though we won't be seeing the... No, make me look smart. Go upstairs. I'm gonna actually be seeing our Claudette, seeing them going down the basement. That's a fresh hook though, so...
We do have the portal already placed down at the bottom of the basement here with no portals available to be placed as they're all spread across the map. And he manages to get the down onto the Claudette and the down onto the Atom as well. He's only going to be able to go for 1 survivor here. I think the Claudette's who we're going to want because we're going to get the pretty much guaranteed kill.
Oh, and she's so awesome with the D! That is huge. We had even seen the quick kneels to assert dominance from the Atom before they had left. So we now have 2 survivors out the door. We have to save a very quick reset. There's going to be Ace taking the hit. The question is Zet going to be able to close this distance between... Wait.
He most definitely is, yeah.
What?
Well, he's not going to be able to make it to the exit door without a hit take from his teammate here, which is exactly what we're going to see happen now. We have our survivors running over to the other door here. Let's see if it's been opened in time. Oh, I think our ace here knows that he's in a bit of trouble here. He's not quite going to make it to... Ooh, really nice discipline of the pallet here. He's going to go down to a shred here, though. Not quite. That pesky pole got in the way. Going to be able to make a little bit more distance. Could this potentially be a hatch play here, Q?
Yeah, it could be, but the only thing right now that's kind of tough, honestly, between your 2 survivors, you would have really preferred your Jukebox to be the one left behind, as Jukebox was on 2nd stage, and Ace here has only been hooked once. So that is going to be 2 additional stages that Zet is going to get into the end game here. And honestly, when you look at it, right, that's 7, 8 stages, one of those being a progression, pretty strong performance from the demo puppy here. The only thing, though, is because of the strong performance that Chronicles had on the survivor side, even with, getting 3 out, their survivor side still holding the stronger weight, which is why we're looking right now at Chronicles being up by 16 points.
Yeah, but just to quickly add on to what you were saying here, we saw that Modern Retro had a bit of a difficult killer performance starting out, but their survivor game here in this 2nd game has been honestly quite impressive, actually, to go against that Devour Hope, which is not something you very commonly see going into play in comp. And for that to actually work as well is insane for Chronicles to go for, and I respect that a lot. What's
really tough is I feel like early on you had a couple of survivors that took chase in the area that totem was, because the totem was right outside of Saloon, but it's that one that's like tucked in some boxes on the street, so like unless you see it at the right angle, you normally like don't really see it, you know what I'm saying?
I mean,
so maybe that was the reason, but big value you mentioned.
Yeah, but the thing is though, with totems, I find, well, at least me personally, the way that I will check for a totem is I'll listen out for it, right? Because the hex totems do have a very audible kindling noise of the fire, that even if the totem is in a spot where it's out of basic line of sight, once you know where your totem spawns pretty consistently are, you can just run to an area, listen out for the totem, and not have to actually go through and check to the exact spot. But obviously for the scenario where you gotta play against Noed, for example, knowing where those dull totems are quite important for the team. So taking the extra time to actually check for where the dulls are as well for the start of the trial kind of thing. But as opposed to later on in the game, Devour Hope is up, you need to find a hex totem or everyone's in big trouble. You listen out for that totem and you try to be as efficient as you can with, you know, obviously looking around for it. So might have been a difficult thing to calm early game, finding that Devour Hope, but seeing it get cleansed pretty quickly after it came into play was really nice.
So, in case we had anybody here that was not around for the 1 o'clock game, of course, this is week 1 of preseason. We are switching things up a little bit here when it comes to Vigo's Court Season 3. Last season in Season 2, and I think in the seasons prior, I don't know, I wasn't around. I'm pretty sure, by the way. It's always been on the same map. It's been the home team's map, right? But what we're doing this season is you are actually playing the first 2 trials on the home team's map and the second 2 trials on the away team's map. So we are switching maps here for trials 3 and 4. And we're going to be going to a map that fell a little bit later in our draft pool. It's one of the Cold Wind Farm maps. It has a very big middle building that can be sometimes a pain in the rear for especially like your traditional like M1 killers to deal with. And that's going to be Rancid Abattoir. It has 136 square tiles, 6 hook minimum, 11 hook maximum. It is Modern and Retro's home for this season. Here's the big question that I think I have when we're talking about for Modern Retro. I feel like if it's your home map, I know we've been seeing through the preseason thus far that we're seeing a lot of like stronger killers that you would expect on the map, which leads me to believe that maybe since we're on Rancid and it's a team that's going to have to rely on not using S-tier killers on Rancid, maybe we'll see kind of an off-meta, like maybe like a Pyramid Head or something like that. What do you think would be like a good like off-meta pick on this map?
I've got 2 that come to mind immediately, and those 2 would be Doctor and Artist. I think if we're thinking off meta, I think from what I've seen in the OCE scene at least, we have experimented a lot with putting killers on different maps. I don't even think we've experimented with Artists on Rancid, but with the way that she has been played on a lot of maps that she's traditionally been on, any sort of map where stuff like, you know, running that shotgun strategy with the crows and stuff in big open buildings like the main building on Rancid, big open areas like the rest of Rancid, and the fact that Rancid could also be a very RNG based map, with those either harvester or cow tree spawns along those edge parts of the map where you actually have tiles. So I feel like it's a mix of gamble and not gamble, obviously being textbook, get open area, muck around a bit and get some hooks, you know.
Yeah, and so in case we have anybody, because I know, like you mentioned, we've seen quite a bit of artists actually in the OCE region played, right, when it comes to the tournaments there. If we have anyone here who's not familiar with artists and the shotgun strategy that you're talking about, essentially it's just you're using one bird at a time, so you have a quicker reload or respawn time on it. You can just use it kind of check one gen at a time, especially when you have like a hook that you're patrolling as well, right? You push people off the gens, and then if you happen to have someone go that way, since you have the quicker reload, then you can kind of spread some birds out and potentially get a health state change, right? Is that what you're talking about?
That's exactly right, because you can be taking health states from the opposite side of the map while pressuring a hook, while pressuring a gen, all at the same time, and artists can be just such an oppressive killer when played properly, and it'll be really interesting to see how other regions do it as well, because I haven't really seen an artist being played in very much of a different way or any way better than what I've seen in OCE. So I'm really excited. If Artist was a killer, of course, to be picked on Rancid, there's all sorts of off-meta killers you could go for example, like, you know, Doctor or even Legion as well. I think we've had him on Rancid Abattoir at some point. But
I love that you keep bringing up Legion because, again, Legion Spoke. You don't understand. The people love
I'm
the
listening.
Legion.
I'm listening, Q.
People
I'm listening.
love
Don't
the
worry.
Legion. It's always the chance that we get in chat comes, rounds or matches 3s and 4s quite often in season 2. So the fact that you were on board, I believe we'll have the people on board here in Vigo's court as well. So I love it.
All right, I'll be expecting my paychecks in PayPal within 2 to 3 business days, please, guys.
Yeah.
But that's really exciting to hear, though. I love it when a community or when a crowd is keen for something that's like not so much very off meta, but just something you wouldn't commonly see. People aren't gonna boot up DVD and be like, you know what? Hey, I wanna absolutely destroy some teams. I'm gonna play Legion today. You know.
Now, we are going to Rancid. Did you bring up Pyramid Head on this map?
You were the one that brought it up originally, but I very much have to agree with you on that as well.
I'm just trying to think of, because again, I think the big thing for, and the other big thing that I also want to talk about before we get switched over and get really into this game, Chronicle is actually a team that was knocked out during the qualifiers. They actually are filling in for a team that had to drop out, Imperio. And with Chronicle coming out like this and preseason game number 1, showing that they definitely deserve to be up with the big boys in Gallows League. So this is definitely a really good showing.
Oh, 100%. And in my personal experience as well, I managed to cast for another tournament that Solgalia is running, where Modern Retro are playing up against Petroleum, if I'm not mistaken. And I believe we have Petroleum in Vigo's court here as well. But Modern Retro actually took the victory over Petroleum in the qualifiers, I believe it was. And seeing them so far getting beaten by Chronicles here is
fashion,
really impressive on Chronicles' part. Yeah, it's impressive to see.
And I mean, this is gonna be interesting. And now we are going to be loading into, again, trial number 3. We're switching maps again, chat. If y'all are like, whoa, listen. We're switching things up in season 3. Okay, it's intended. And I honestly like this selection because I feel like it makes a team play their home map against everybody. You know what I mean? Whereas sometimes you happen to catch people in on your side of the map, or when you're on the road and you're on a map that's a little bit more juicy and it can kind of work out for you. So it makes you play your home map. It makes that pick a little bit more valuable. And of course, we had just done that. And while we load into trial number 3, we just saw all of the offerings and everything. Let's talk about some of our rules and things like that as far as bans that we've got over here, as far as also what we got going on with the builds, because we do have rules and they are not meant to be broken. Believe it or not, they're killer perks. They're not allowed. Coup de Grace, Haunted Ground, Starstruck, Dead Man Switch, Pain Resonance, Lethal Pursuer. You're not allowed to have Deadlock and No Ed. You're also not allowed to have No Way Out and No Ed. You're allowed to have those perks, obviously, as you've seen, just not combined. No Prove Thyself, no Build to Last, no Boon Totems, no Boil Over, and basically your common like stealth combos with Lucky Break, right? With Off the Record and Iron Will, both off. Survivors, you can have yellow items and yellow add-ons, one of each. No duplicate characters, no duplicate perks either, other than Borrowed Time. Make sure that we're really spreading the love all the way around. It's what actually sometimes gives us some fun builds and things like that as well that you don't typically see as far as like in pub games, right? Because of course, in pub games, sometimes with the meta, you can only see, like 8 or 9 perks in a lobby, whereas here you're going to be seeing a lot more than that. And I know it's hard to believe, chat, I know, with like load times and stuff. And what? My Dead by Daylight? I know. Which unfortunately is while we have the anticipation to see our first killer on Rancid Abattoir for season number 3. But it looks like we're ready to go. Let's take another trip on back into the fog. And there's one thing that I'm not usually a big fan of saying is, I hate to say I told you. No, I'm kidding. I actually love to say it. We're going to be seeing the Pyramid Head out here for our trial. And actually finding 2 survivors with the Adam and the Claudette both over here. This could be a juicy start.
Oh, we're getting a little bit lost here in the source, going for the Adam here. unfortunately does make the decision of vaulting that window. Oh, still manages to get the pallets done. Plus 10 wood to the face, stupid, says the Adam here as he runs off into the sunset here. And luckily enough, does manage to get the couch respawn over at this left-hand side of the map here, but is going to immediately use that pallet anyway to deny any health state change, which honestly, I'm all on board with. I have no argument with that.
Yeah, the one thing that I do worry about, like, obviously you're doing a good job chasing the corrupt side, allowing the rest of your survivors to get into the uncorrupt gens, hold them one, hit the skill checks, you know, the easy stuff, right? But now this is 3 pallets we've already thrown, 2 of which that have already been broken, 1 of which is a very strong pallet being, you know, cow tree over there. We do see now the M2 coming in, but we're now approaching close to the 90-second mark. I feel like Zet really needs to get it down, and really the big thing, honestly, Zet would probably be good with getting it down over here, at least kind of by this hook would be right. The one next to us is probably be ideal. That way you're in your corrupt region and you've already depleted a lot of resources.
Yeah, that's really the best takeaway for this first initial chase, really, which for the survivors is exactly what you want. So it's nice to see Modern Retro really stepping it up and having this insane first chase here as the first gen is popping across the ways for the entirety of that chase here, as we have a nice prediction shot landing in the shack there. Always nice to see Pyramid Heads not being afraid to use their power, especially that close to the basement stairs. I bet that survivor didn't expect to be able to actually be hit by that punishment of the damned right there, as you can't use your power as a Pyramid Head over those big gaps like that with staircases, with holes, with all that sort of stuff. But we are going to be seeing Pop Goes the Weasel applied to that shack gen, which will be some good slowdown for our killer here for Chronicles.
And we do see, I mean, I feel like, I mean, so I don't know if we got to talk about it because we had seen the basement and the very juicy hit, but part of the delay I think that we're seeing as far as on the gen is in part due to the deadlock that we do have in play currently, which of course does let our survivors know as far as one of the potential end game perks that we could possibly be looking at. There's the deadlock actually getting on this generator right here. We're actually seeing a body block coming in. Nice job by the Zarina keeping the body here. Might be able to, able to avoid the M2. That's big.
That is huge, honestly. Now, using that power earlier probably would have been the best play here. Fake out of the power, bait that M2 a bit, always throws the survivor off guard. Being unpredictable as a Pyramid Head is one of your greatest weapons, and it's nice to see Zet implementing that as best as possible as he goes for the tunnel out onto our Adam here, especially with having people tormented as well. Getting a survivor into a cage will be the exact same as getting a hook state, so that quicker, just absolute hands-free, don't have to run over to a hook, loses the 50-50 at the pallet. Unfortunately, Adam did a good job of dodging that there as we see the third gen popping across the ways, as Shack is our gen that is going to be currently deadlocked now for the next 30 seconds, I believe.
Zarina is such a tank right now with that med kit. Comes in, takes the body blocks, gets her friend some distance, retreats, heals, lather, rinse, and repeat. Has built so much time. Part of the reason that we see right now our survivor squad from Modern Retro currently sitting at only 1 hook state. Nice light play to be able to build some more distance, moving to the L. Tried to bait out the swing at the window. Nice job by Zet, though, to know better and actually be able to get Jukebox down. This will be a fresh hook state over in this corner by the door. The only problem is, as you can see looking across the way, most of the gens are on the other side of the map.
Yeah, and especially with the deadlock being back onto the Shack gen as well, there's a good chance that that gen is... Oh, all right, we're going to be seeing a deliverance from our Zarina here at probably the best time possible. You're going to get that last gen done. I was just talking about how that gen over in the Shack has been deadlocked twice now, so there's a good chance it has enough progress for it to be nearly 99% completed to allow it to just be repaired as soon as the deadlock runs out. I'm not too sure how I feel about this play, though, with Zet going back for the Zarina here. No prediction shots here, playing it kind of safe for now. Don't want to give them too much distance, which I agree is a good thing to do. It'd be crazy to vault that pallet in this economy, but going for that left side once again. That last gen in the Shack does end up popping as No Way Out comes out to play.
Yeah, that no way out with the 2 stacks is going to buy our team 36 seconds, at least after the sound notification had popped, which, as we are going to see, about halfway expired at this point with the no way out. And of course, also with the deadlock, we know both of those are not allowed with no ed, so we're not going to be seeing that at this point. Taking this arena down, that jukebox going down here in the pallet space and is not afflicted by the torment. Any pallet enjoyers?
Oh no, Adam had that angle, but he was aiming his flashlight at his legs. I don't know what to tell you. Poor Adam, not gonna get that montage clip there, unfortunately. Now, it's really smart of Zed to have gone for the hook right next to this door here, as it hasn't even been touched yet. So this will be a fairly easy elimination if they want to commit to this hook survivor here, as our Claudette is probably injured. Across the way is at the other door. No way out has expired and the door is open. So our survivors probably opting to go for the 3-man escape here, as they need to heal up their Claudette and get everyone over to this hook while the survivor is in second stage, which just doesn't seem very realistic, as you've got to go all the way across the map. So we do see that 3-man escape and the hatch spawning right next to the hook. Seems kind of scripted, if you ask me.
Just for funsies, just so we can see it and close it. I mean, why not, right? I mean, honestly, our survivors doing a very, very good job. We see cutting into the lead by quite a considerable margin here. Now going to be looking at a score of 34 to 47. That is going to be after 3 trials here. So Chronicles is going to have a little bit of a lead here going into their last set on the survivor side. So that's going to be putting quite a bit of pressure onto Modern Red. Oh, actually, I'm seeing an adjustment to our score here. I do apologize, chat. So it's 47-37. So it's still a 10-point lead. And yeah, you have more points available on the
killer side.
On the killer side, but I don't know if having a 10-point lead or 10-point deficit is where I'd be want to sit right now. Do you think maybe we see an S tier come out here?
I feel like you'd want an S tier to come out here if you do want to obviously get that upper hand. And even though it is obviously the preseason, it will be a nice feeling to have a comeback story. You know, we've seen many comebacks in our time together on the desk queue, and I know you're always keen to see it. So I'm sure the morale is obviously starting to pick up for Modern Retro here, as they have the potential to make this comeback and put their name on the board as #1.
So here's the question that I have for you then, because we're in preseason. Actually, before I ask you the one question, let me just fill in anybody who maybe is new here to Vigos. Since it is a league, you are limited to the amount of usages that you get to a killer. Now, in the preseason, you're limited to 1 use, but of course, the preseason is only a couple weeks, right? Whereas in the season, you are limited to 2 uses of your killer, but that's because you're using 2 killers every week over the course of a season, right? So here's where I always get this interesting thing where we're in a situation where we're at right now, right? Oh, wait a minute.
Hold that thought, ladies and gentlemen.
We are actually gonna run things back. We had 2 of the same perk. I'm gonna see if I can figure out which perk it is that we had. 2 wake ups. Oh, that's tough. Yeah, I mean, look, I understand, man. Wake up's big value, but unfortunately, you cannot have that happening. And as it works in, as it does work here in Vigos, any trials where there are penalties, they can be played out or replayed or both. So this is going to be one of those situations where both does happen. And we have the penalty accrued, we played it all the way out, and we are now going to be replaying it. So there's going to be a point deduction, and we're going to be running things back. So we're going to be resetting up that lobby here. So I believe what that means is I think the killer cannot change their perks, but everyone else can. I could be wrong.
It should be the other way around, I would say, Q.
Oh,
The
sorry.
survivors
Yeah,
are
the
one who
survivors
made
have the double perks. Yeah. Imagine the killer had 2 perks through the same perk. Imagine.
Yeah, that'd be crazy, dude. But actually, we're just getting word saying that everyone is able to switch their perks, both survivor and killer here. So I can understand why that would be. Obviously, you'd want to potentially swap around the DS, the Deliverance, the Unbreakable, whatever second chance perks you may have. Knowing what survivor it's going to be on would be a bit of an unfair advantage for the killer, even if it is a balance offense on the survivor's side. But that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I know that was a topic that got brought up because I know in a lot of other scenes, sometimes we see where whatever side has the offense, you can't reset the perks. But I do like, especially in this case, because you already played it out, right? So it's one thing if it's you replay or you like catch it at the beginning and you're like, all right, you just can't change perks. Let's just go ahead and run it back. But you've now given the option. You've played it out. We're gonna go ahead and run things back, which I mean, that's tough, you know?
Yeah, it is, especially after having such a great performance on the survivor side. Having that extra wake up, let's be realistic, I don't think it really would have changed the game that much at all unless your survivor on the hook was the one with wake up. But realistically, all your survivors are in position to be at the doors and get out anyway, so the actual game itself, I would personally say, wasn't really impacted too much. But a balance offense is a balance offense, and it's important to be very strict and by the book and black and white with it. This is what happens when you make a balance offense kind of thing. You know?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think that the most important thing there, I think the big thing you're hitting on there is like the integrity of the rules, right? Like it's got to be the same way every time. Once you start making it where there's a judgment call, that's where things can sometimes be whether it's the same or not. But if you start making perception calls, it's just the integrity can sometimes get a little skewed. So it's just easy to keep things by the book here. So we are going to run things back. So that does also mean in these cases that said, of course, since you can change things up, you can also change your killer use. So I feel like
that's interesting.
I feel like we'd probably still use the pyramid ahead, I think, especially because it's preseason. And of course, that's the other nice thing too here about preseason, right? Is that at least the mistakes happening now and not like week 13 when it's like win or go home,
Yeah. If you're at a very intense part of the season where every game, every point, every interaction in the game is so important, having to go through and do a restart because of a balance offense can just... It's like all those movies that muck around with time travel. One thing you change in the past will just completely change the future. It sort of hits on a similar beat here, I would say.
And I think the really tough thing here too is because we were just talking about how Modern Retro had a lot of momentum because they had the very strong performance to be able to close the gap, right? And now here, you got to make sure you come out, have the strong start again, make sure that because you still have now it's a little bit bigger of a lead because you accrue the point penalty as well. So now instead of I think it's like a 19-point difference, a 21-point difference, but tough, man.
It is tough. It definitely would take a hit on the morale for Modern Retro here, as they're the ones taking the balance offense for the extra wake up. But at the end of the day, like, this can either be a motivator to do better, or some lessons you have to learn the hard way. Balance offenses can happen sort of at any point, and the more you make that mistake, I guess the easier it is to learn from it, I would say.
Yeah, but I think you did hit on a good point of like needing, like, this is kind of where we can, or I shouldn't say we can see, but Modern Retro can see like how they do react when something that's like kind of in your control, but sometimes gets like lost in the shuffle of everything else of game day. You know what I mean? When those happen, sometimes it'd be easy for like you to get more upset, and then because you're upset, you play worse, which then makes you more upset. So then you make more mistakes, and you have like that quicksand effect, right? Where other times it's like, okay, well, I mean, we had a good result. Let's just run it back and do it again. And I think that's the big thing that kind of helps separate, those teams that we'll see in playoffs from the rest. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No. It's very important trying to, I guess, keep your morale in check, I guess. Trying to, no matter what's going on, whatever the circumstances, if you're having to deal with a balanced offense or a very tough first game on Survivor or Killer side, you're gonna want your team to be in the highest of spirits, and sort of that's why it's always amazing being a part of a team with good mates, people who hang out a lot and play together a lot. Those teams tend to do a lot better regardless of the scenario because they're so comfortable and familiar with being around one another and playing in their play styles and not letting anything stop them and to keep pushing on. So it'll be nice to see Modern Retro taking up that role here and seeing how they go with this run back, but it'll also be good to see Chronicles maintaining that lead and showing them who's boss.
Yeah, so we are going to see through here as far as our points. So since we had a point penalty, let's kind of talk about what happens when that goes down here, because we had it happen. So let's kind of talk about it, because when there are penalties, as I had talked about, either you can play out the trial with a point deduction and just take it as is, or you can have an auto reset. Auto reset, though, would be like loading with cross play off using a banned killer, or like loading into the wrong map. Like, we're not going to play those out, right? That's common sense. But as far as like the optional resets, kind of like we saw multiple duplicate perks using a banned item or perk or things like that nature, you can have a option for reset. If there's no reset though on to the same survivor for harassing the ref, no reset for wrong or no offerings, stuff like that, that's just a straight point penalty, and we keep the ball rolling. You know what I mean? So it's really kind of pretty cut and dry and simple. If you have any questions or anything, or if that wasn't if that wasn't clear or anything, don't ask me, don't ask your mama. Exclamation point rules in chat. But what?
This be another offense here, maybe a wrong map or something like that.
I'm not sure, because I don't have a chance to spectate. We'll want to make sure we have our judges in the background, making sure that the game didn't get started here.
So we're just
it does look, go ahead.
The wrong map from the killer. It's normally the most common game not fully loading in. Everyone's DC'd, and we haven't even seen the game fully load in yet. So we did have the wrong map being picked on the killer side. So now that would mean that there's going to be a -5 point deduction to Chronicles, if I'm not mistaken, and the game will just get run back as it should be.
Yeah, so now, I mean, it cuts back away from that penalty we just had, and let's just run
it straight back.
Control Z, is that right? I don't know, I just do it so naturally now. Let's just Control Z it, we'll undo it all, and let's run things back. Luckily enough, this time we caught it as it was early. So I do know that very early on, I was very bad about loading up some of our rule sets here, because we were talking, because you and I have that habit. You and I are really good at that thing. So while we go ahead and load into the, hold on, we're loading in this trial, right?
Yeah. It's actually, I only see 2 survivors there, Q.
Oh no, not like this! I did it. I messed it up. I messed everything up. Not like this.
I was just about to compliment you earlier for being tech savvy as well.
Man, I was doing so good, and then I was trying to press this button. Only got 2 survivors. What? Why? See, what happened? Whoa. Hold on. No, as I was saying.
It's just gonna put us back to the lobby, and then I think it'll be everyone ready's up again. But if this does continue to happen, then we'll have to rule the lobby as bugged and have to remake the lobby. I've seen this happen a couple of times in OCE as well. It's one of those things where it's just, you got to kind of brute force it, and if behavior is going to keep being behavior, it's hard to say whether it's an issue from either team's side. That it would take too much time to look into and investigate, because it's not like one survivor has just decided, you know what, I'm just going to kick my router a couple of times and see if it doesn't load me in, But this is I would say out of most people's control here, and we'll just keep running it back.
The only thing that I would say is sometimes we tend to see it when it's like cross region, right? Like this is why we like, especially this season, we have the different conferences. That way we don't have like the out of region happen quite as much. But this is, this is preseason. This is where we kind of get to allow the cross region here and out of conference play. So we'll see here. We load in, we see our offerings. Before we loaded into trial 1, we started talking about how our killers were. I just messed it up. Why? Why me? Why me? We talked about how killers were able to put points on the board. So let's go ahead and do it. And so of course, on the killer side, it's pretty simple. You kill people. You guys do that by getting hooks, right? So the first 2 hook states worth 2 points. The elimination hook, they are backloaded here, so they are 3 points. If you happen to force any stages, those are called progressions. Those progressions are worth 1 less point. That encourages our killers to more try and go down and hunt down fresh hooks, right? If you happen to get 4K, you do get 2 additional bonus points. If you do happen to get additional progressions, like if survivors try and bleed you out of those points, and for 7th and 8th progression, are 1 point apiece, or also good if you're like a slug god and need to go on something like that. If you get a Mori, you get the adjacent hook. If it's an entity kill, you get the hook plus progressions. If you are very, very sneaky, sir, and happen to be able to get a bleed out on the ground in the end game, you are able to deprive the killer of some points, because that is 0 points there. And if you have any other questions when it comes to the rules, don't ask me, don't ask your mama. Exclamation point rules in the chat. Let's go ahead and take another trip on back into the fog. And even though we don't do mirror matches here in Vigo's court, it does look like, actually,
It is a restart, though.
you know what? Yeah.
But on that topic, though, the killer here would have the option to change killers if they wanted to with the original restart here, but. So there's still truth to what you had to say there, not having mirrored matches in Vigo's court here. So the pick at the pyramid head, I think, is just our killer here showing that this is the killer that they want to play. They've already put on a pretty good performance. They want to do better after these balanced offenses, but we're going to be getting this first chase onto the Nancy here, who's taken the chase into the corrupt area of the map, which is nice to see, but a bit of a pallet waste there. It's sometimes hard to tell whether you're going to get hit through that pallet or not, so you drop it just to be safe in case you do make it. So I completely understand that, as we have the ruin totem getting cleansed across the ways here. The firecracker getting used as well by our Nancy here, going to be our first hook of the trial quite early on. I'd say about 75 seconds or so into the trial.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely a better start than we had seen on the last trial here from Zet. And also this first hook kind of comes on the edge of your corrupt gen. So even though we had seen the ruin knocked out very, very early, which means you don't get that active regression, we are going to see with that kick there, the pop goes the weasel, 25% instant regression here. So Zet does have the option to still be able to accrue regression just through those hook states there. We are going to be seeing the hook across the way. It is going to cause Zet to just go ahead and double backs, seize the Zarina. Kind of surprised you don't tap the Zarina there, quite honestly, just to get a free state, like a set of 16 charges out of that med kit, figuring that she's probably going to be the person trying to take the protection hit. We do see Molly on the ground. The question is that your DS player? The answer is no. Hook state number 2 before we see hook state number 2, or generator number 2.
Now, I feel like that even in this scenario here, where you have a potential... just want to quickly note, you don't actually have to lunge to get on that point for the harvester, but just picking up on this arena here is really, really good for our killer here. But having a DS player saving the decisive strike until just before the dead hook could honestly be the better play to go for, especially in scenarios when you're up against killers who are running perks like Rancor or Save the Best for Last. The survivors want to be able to manage who the obsession is, and that's definitely within the realms of possibility of our teams, as we see Azarina going down in the shank here, which will be straight into the basement, into the bin.
Yeah, that's really... No, yo, Zet, behind you, there's a big... well, at this point here, we are going to be seeing Zet returning to the field. What's going to be interesting, though, is at this point, you are at least going to be putting your survivor here onto a hook that's next to... you've got a pretty good gen set up here, and we do see across the way actually for the people coming into the play, which we've been seeing kind of become more meta on the Survivor side recently.
Yeah, it's really nice to see perks like For the People making a very predominant like impact to the comp scene, really, because there's a lot of perks in this game. There is a lot, and there's a lot of perks that a lot of people seem to sleep on a lot of the time, and I feel like For the People is definitely one of those perks, not just because everyone loves Legion, or not just because everyone loves the cute little peepo, but we love things that are for the people, you know?
For sure. I mean, honestly, it's one of those that we've been seeing again recently. We've been seeing a lot of big value, and I think a lot of people love seeing the excitement that can come from that value there. We are going to see though being able to track down, apply to the forehead here, being able to apply the big old sword to the forehead, back of the forehead. Wait, the back head? Anyways, getting the down here onto the Atom, and then going to be kind of moving back to the same hook we used earlier, keeping in mind that this is kind of in the like surrounded by your gen spread that you're wanting to defend in the late game.
Now I definitely feel like that it was the choice of the killer for the restart to happen, and that choice is really starting to pay off as we're seeing a much better performance after this restart here. The modern retro survivors are struggling to keep up with the pressure that we're seeing from our killer here. We have seen a lot of gen progress on these close by generators, but with that use of Pop Goes the Weasel and being so close by in the area as well, it's going to be really good for maintaining that pressure and trying to keep up that regression.
Yeah, I mean, we see here, I mean, we can actually hear on this generator a whole bunch of progress, and Zet under some pressure here. I feel like that's the only gen though right now that has quite a bit of progress, or pressure I should say. So the good news is, even if this one does happen to go, you've got some time left on your other gens. You've acquired quite a few. You're in a pretty good spot as far as your hook stages right now. We are going to see though another gen popping off, and it wasn't that gen, which means our survivors have been very, very productive.
Yeah, exactly. We do still have some active generators that have a good amount of repairs and some beautiful dodges from our survivors here of this M2. Sometimes it's just so difficult to land those hits with the M2 unless you've got them caught in an animation lock or something like that. So it's nice to see the survivors doing a really good job of dodging those M2s here. As we see here's a classic example of animation lock.
Yeah, I mean, really just making sure they pay. We are going to be taking chase over here on this side of the map, where we haven't taken chase this time. Remember, we had seen Cowtree thrown very, very early in the last trial. Not going to be able, actually getting caught out of position. This is tough because I do believe this is Molly's death hook, if I am not mistaken. So I believe that should mean a 3v1. Yeah, we're going to see it there. Now here at this point, before we're even in the end game, this is a really good call for the restart here.
Now, what confuses me is why would you hook your survivor that's on death hook when they could be moried? It would still award the same amount of points if they were to do the pyramid head mori with the torment, right? Would that not be the smartest thing to go for, just to save time?
Yeah, you know, that's honestly a really good point. Also, then it doesn't sacrifice a hook too, right? Because it was kind of close to this one. But as we see it, I don't know if it's going to end up coming into play. I think that was another wake-up play, by the way. Our survivor is doing a really good job making sure that survivor is rotated over to whatever exit door they are aiming for. We do see some scratch marks leaving away from here. We also see on the right side of the screen that sweet haste status. But yeah, there's 1, 2. Yeah, we already got the third one. 3 out this time. But still, I feel like when we look at the score, I feel like we're about the... No, actually, our survivors did a good job of pulling back there, because I think we're around the same score we were at last time, right? 45 to 37?
Yeah, before there was only a 10-point difference, if I'm not mistaken, between our teams here, with Chronicles obviously being ahead, but now we're seeing only an 8-point difference. The killer performance from last game being the better of the two. Now, this isn't exactly the case when we've got point deductions and penalties coming into play, obviously with the wrong map being set by the killer and all that stuff. So we did see a better performance this second time round, but with that extra 5-point penalty, I believe it was, that would have made it, you know, a 3-point better outcome from the last trial. So that's obviously what would confuse a lot of people, me included here. So this last game is going to be a 8-point difference that Modern Retro needs to make up for. So this would be really good for morale for them right now.
Yeah, I mean, so you're definitely still feeling good because you closed the gap, right? The only thing that I can't help but wonder, and hold on, who am I? We invited Keep Early this time, so that should mean that oh man, who was our killer last time? Zed, right?
Not too sure. Well,
Zed.
Zed was the killer for Chronicles, if I'm not mistaken. We're going to be seeing Modern Retro on the killer side now.
Right, we've already got our killer in. I wanted to make sure I was getting the right people who can get our survivors in.
Oh, right. Yeah. No, Zed's going to be playing for Modern Retro now.
Yeah, I mean, well, why not? I mean, get some reps in however you can get them in, you know what I'm saying? So you going into the killer side, there are more points available on the killer side, but you still need a pretty decent game to have an 8-point difference. I think you need to be around, I think it's like the like 7 hook 2K mark, somewhere around there. No, might even needing more than that. Might be more around like the 5 hook 1K maybe.
Well, to make up for an 8-point difference, it's definitely a lot more difficult to calculate in your head because you got to take escape points into play. You got to take progression points or point deductions.
Yeah, the progressions throw things off here too. Yeah, Vigo, that's a good point.
Yeah, so it's one of those things you can't really like anticipate too much kind of thing. You got to just watch it play out and see how it goes before you can really make an educated guess of what the win condition is 100%, you know?
And so we are back to the discussion we were kind of having before. You know, do you think... I don't think I've actually finished this thought before we talked about it. So during this season, right, you're limited to 2 choices of a killer throughout the season. There's 14 weeks. You're using 2 killers a season. You do the math, right? So if you're in a situation like this during the season, where you are down by 8 points, going into trial number 4, needing a very strong performance from your killer in order to walk away with the W, you're kind of stuck in this weird catch-22, right? Because you feel inclined that in order to get the performance, you need an S-tier killer, right? But if you pull the S-tier killer and then you don't get the performance you're looking for, not only are you walking away with an L, but you're walking away with an L and an S-tier killer usage gone for the season, right?
Yeah.
So that's usually a tough part during the season. Granted, we are in preseason. You only have you only are limited to a couple picks, so you can kind of pick most of your S-tier killers pretty much sporadically. So with that being the case, do you think in preseason we see them try and bring out an S-tier killer on a non-traditional map saying, hey, if this were the case, this was probably what we'd do, so let's try it out and see if we can do it? Or do you just go with an M1 killer and try and get practice heading into the season? What do you think?
I think it's really hard to say because no matter what you do, it's a smart thing to do. Picking an M1 killer or a weaker killer to try and get the practice in for, you know, obviously playing said killer on tougher maps or on whatever map that you're currently playing on here, this case being Rancid Abattoir. I want to see some Evan, man. Evan can do well on the Rancid Abattoir. I'm going to say it. But no, that aside, it's hard to say whether we're going to be seeing teams going for the S-tier killer picks or if they just want to go for a less traditional, more risky pick of someone or something that doesn't perform as well as opposed to an S-tier killer. But just when in Rome, right, you're normally just going to go for an S-tier killer, I feel like.
Yeah, it's interesting here because, of course, we are talking about, this is Modern Retro's killer. And Modern Retro, we have been seeing in, kind of comp across the board here recently. They are a team that's, I don't want to say like they're a new team, right? But they are a newer team. You know, they're kind of putting their composition together, getting their chemistry together, getting their strategies right. I feel like, unlike some of our other teams who don't have as much other comp experience, so maybe they want to warm up their S tiers for the season, I feel like now might be a time to still bring out what you think would be a strong M1 killer on this map. So maybe maybe we do see the mirror match. Maybe we see the pyramid head come out here. Maybe you bring like a plague or something. Maybe you can take advantage of the dead zones kind of between your stronger tiles. I'm not sure. It's gonna be interesting to see.
Yeah, it definitely will be very interesting to see, as this is obviously being preseason, but this is the make or break match where you have to make up that 8-point difference to get that victory. You're definitely going to go for your strongest stuff, I would say, and the survivors of Chronicles here would definitely be expecting the strongest of stuff. So they'd want their best players on the roster. They'd want the players with the most synergy and communication to be the ones to secure that victory, sort of thing, in a season scenario.
Right. Yeah, 100%. And so if you do come with an M1 killer on a map like this, I know you had mentioned forced penance in the past on other maps. Do you feel like on a map like this, you're going to be seeing a lot of body blocks, or do you think that's something you don't really worry about?
I mean, it really depends on the killer, and well, obviously the killer and the map are the two things that could really depend on. The size of the map, if it's a smaller map, I feel like Force Penance would be a greater pick, as the survivors can very much easier get into a position where they could be taking body blocks mid-chase kind of thing. On a larger map, it's harder to coordinate because you'd have to go a lot more out of position to be able to take those hits while in chase, getting off those generators and getting into a spot where you can be hit taking. So on a map like Rancid, I feel like that in comparison to other maps, it's more on the lower to mid range of map size. It's not the biggest map in the world, but at the same time, it still has some size to it, with the size of the actual main building, the size of just the open areas, the gaps between actual tiles being on opposite sides of the map. Here we can see it's 136 square tiles with 8,704 square meters, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, it's a pretty reasonably sized map, but with how split up the tiles can be on the Rancid Abattoir, it's going to be difficult to have a nice long chase anyway. So you're going to want to be hit taking to prolong that chase for as long as possible, and sort of splitting the map into two, at least minimum two sides, your left side and your right side, with your tile spawns. So that's just my take on Force Penance picks here, but we are actually going to be seeing the pick of a nurse on the Rancid Abattoir here, which that's as S tier as you can get, ladies and gentlemen. Modern Retro are not here to muck around, so let's see how they go with the Sally here for this last game.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, you know, I mean, here again, it is kind of like one of those, hey, if we were in this situation this season, how would we need to react? And I think this kind of shows it. You know, you want to make sure you can get put all your chips on the table, and we see two very confident blinks here in order to establish a down here around the 35-second mark into the trial here. And we'll see that there is a corrupt in play here, but the corrupt kind of more on the other side of the map. So really this is kind of being on the corner of your corrupt or your uncorrupt side, which could lead to some pretty good pressure if you can continue spreading around the damage, especially because we have a Thananophobia in play.
Yeah, and the survivors are definitely going to be well aware of that. We're like 60 seconds into the trial. The first hook has been well and truly established, and we're going to be seeing a pop goes the weasel onto this generator over here, being regressed to basically nothing. So a lot of early game pressure already being thrown away. This will be a difficult start for Chronicles to recover from, but you never know what could happen.
And I think the really tough thing too is, I mean, we can hear that middle gen that is currently uncorrupted doesn't have too much pressure on it. You can hear this generator in this jungle gym has quite a bit. We had seen one survivor heading away, and instead of engaging in chase, we are going to be seeing our nurse instead doubling back to hook. The save coming in actually right in time before we see a second stage force. We also see a swing and a miss, which is going to allow some extra distance to be built by Claudette.
Yeah, that extra distance is honestly so huge. Any bit of distance you can get with Nurse is just insane. And beautiful firecracker blind. That's just... she blinded herself with that one as well. You gotta admit.
Oh, but she slaps him with the D. Says, drop it.
That's going to be some awesome distance there for the Claudette. Going to be able to dodge that first set of blinks already at a safe distance for another round of blinks as well, as you can see in the distance there. Now with that Crowfly, we can see that she's going to get one-tapped through these hay bales. That is absolutely insane by our nurse here, as we see the second gen getting popped across the ways and a second hook onto a Claudette without forcing a stage, without that progression penalty.
Yeah, and this is going to be big. I mean, we see a very quick unhook coming in across the way, so they are probably going to be seeing a reset. As we see a pop goes the Weasel onto this middle generator, and we can look around. We actually got some scratch mark over here towards our jungle gym, and I'm not sure if we're gonna go straight for that survivor, or maybe if something else our killer Molly here might have in mind. I think instead just going to be checking out the generators, maybe try more playing for the mid portion of the trial, making sure that you can continue collecting up these hook states. Here's going to be a swing onto our Megan. That's going to be a health state change. Now 10% slowdown onto any generators that are getting worked on across the way. Dead Hard not going to be able to create distance, and a very beautiful job here by our nurse to predict that out and still get the down.
Yeah, that was a very unfortunately timed Dead Hard. When the nurse does land the one blink, you just have to assume that they're going to go for the swing there. So that Dead Hard unfortunate timing is very, very much explainable, and I've made that mistake very many times in competitive matches as well. So it's not something to be too bummed out about. We're seeing Pop Goes the Weasel going onto this main building generator here, giving it that another bit of 25% slowdown, just getting rid of a decent chunk of pressure. I think when you convert it into actual time, that is 20 seconds of gen repair immediately gone with the use of Pop.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a lot, right? I mean, when you talk about, especially when you get into a later part of the trial, like it's one thing right now when we're in a 4v1 and you can have people spread across the board. Even when you have an unhook going on like this and you have one person coming in from the unhook and one person running from the nurse because she's absolutely scary and closing the distance with these blinks like this right here. But you have two people working on gens, but oh my goodness, nice pixel perfect Dead Hard by the Megan to be able to create a little bit more space here and buys a little bit more time for our survivors. Not only making up for the Pop Goes the Weasel on that middle gen, but even more so might be seeing that popping. We only need 2 more gens before we can start powering the doors here.
In the OCU region, it's very commonly referred to as the Dead Hard player being your third health state survivor, and by having Dead Hard here, and it's just going to show with how well the Meg has been able to utilize it. It's been good to see.
Wow.
And knowing who has the Dead Hard just makes all the other chases so much easier, because you know who you have to bait it out on and who not to. So this is a very quick chase for our nurse here, which is very much so needed, as this is the 3rd unique hook of the trial here, but all the gens have been completed.
Sheesh. Yeah, our survivors just absolutely pounding these generators out here. And you know, you had mentioned we have gotten 3 fresh hooks across the board, which does mean that nobody's close to being removed from the trial. It means everyone's right around the same worth as far as points to our nurse here in the end game right now, currently, right? I mean, preferably, you would like to, right now, you would really like to find the ace, as that is your last fresh hook survivor, could yield you the most hook states in the end game currently. But right now, I mean, the survivors have already procced the No Way Out. It had 3 stacks on it, so it was 48 seconds. Oh, perfect body blocks. So you don't have to worry about the stun. Nice job to be able to get the health state change here.
Yeah, no, that was a really, really nice play by our nurse here, and he's doing a really good job at making the decision not to play safe there at that hill and just holding that W key there. A really nice down by our killer here. Ace, unfortunately, not lasting too much longer there, but we know that our Meg here has the Dead Hard, so don't swing at it. What?
That's tough. Now, the one thing to keep in mind, though, right? Like, Molly is picking up the Meg, who has already been on the hook. We see the reset coming in pretty quickly onto the Nia. Not sure if they're going to be able to make it over to the Ace, because the Ace is fresh hook here and would yield you the least amount, like the biggest like hook stage swing, if this is the survivor that does get sacrificed here in the end game. We do see the door getting open, Megan getting take off the hook as Ace happens to get put up onto his own. Molly's gonna go up onto the hook here with up onto the Pride Rock with the first blink, trying to monitor, see if you got anybody coming through the corn. We see at least 2 survivors coming back here. There's 3 survivors. I think they're just gonna take the 3 out here.
Yeah, no, you definitely have to take the 3 out in this scenario. Your nurse is going to have too much mobility to go back to where the unhook happens and blink straight back to the door, blink through whoever tries to take a hit. You can't really do a traditional hit taking, run out the door into the sunset here, but a 3 out is a really good result to have against a nurse, I would say. So our survivors of Chronicles would definitely be happy with that one.
Yeah, and I mean, kind of circling back to the point that we had made previously, which was, this is Chronicles was a team that originally did not qualify for the Gallows League. And I think this goes to show the competition here in Gallows League for season number 3 for Vigo's court here, because they were able to come in here and I don't want to say in convincing fashion, because I mean it is only 10 points, and anyone who's been around comp DVD knows that even though 10 points sounds like double digits, it's really a pretty narrow gap comparatively, right? But to still be able to come in and prove that basically you belong in preseason week number 1, gotta have Chronicles feeling really good.
Oh yeah, 100%, and it's been awesome to see that Chronicles definitely have a lot of fans in the chat cheering them on as well.
Yeah.
So it's a very well-earned victory for Chronicles to have gotten this win here in the pre-season against Modern Retro. But it's been an absolute pleasure to be able to be here in the Vigo's court here, and to be able to spectate these games and just be a part of some more esports, because it's always so nice to see a unique take on how the scoring goes as far as what I've seen personally, and I like how it's done here. I really do.
Yeah, it's been a real blast having you over here. I'm no spoilers or anything, but hopefully it won't be the last time we see you hanging out over here with us on the desk here at Vigo's court. And so last time our team that won didn't have anybody English speaking that was available for the interrogation room. This time though, we have K1 Cole. I wasn't sure if it was just K1 or just Cole, but welcome in. How are you guys feeling after preseason game number 1?
Pretty good, actually.
It's gotta feel good coming in and originally wasn't qualified. You take the spot, coming in and steal win number 1. I mean, what's the thoughts going on in your guys' head right now?
I mean, we were a bit surprised when we were offered the spot. It was like an honor that you guys thought of us, and we were like, yeah, you had like the best seeding. So then winning the first match, even if it was like a pre-show match, it was
right.
A pretty good feeling, because we wanted to show that we belong here and that we came to hopefully win some games.
Well, that is exciting. I mean, I know we were talking about it, and I think today shows it. I mean, you guys were a team originally unqualified, came in and winning. The competition definitely going to be steep here in the Gallows in the Gallows League this season. So, was definitely an awesome experience to see you guys come in, win in the fashion that you did. We saw you had a lot of fans in the stands, so to speak. A lot of Go Chronicles in chat. So before we let you go here, and if you have anything do you want to say anything to them? Because I honestly got a whole bunch of people here that saying Go Chronicles in chat. So anything you want to say to them or the people of Vigos?
Yeah, I hope they continue to support us in the future, and they do an amazing job. They pretty much take over every chat when we play, and it's really fun to see, because it motivates us to play better, of course. And I hope that this will continue in the future, also in when we play in Vigos. And I hope we will do fine in the future, like today. It was a really nice game. We had much fun.
Well, awesome, man. Well, I definitely. And you have any questions, Poker? I shouldn't be taking all the question time. You have any questions for K1 Cole after watching that matchup there?
I mean, there's nothing really too specific that comes to mind here aside from did you guys have fun? Because they certainly look like really fun matches to shoutcast, and it's always nice to see when teams are having fun with the games that they're playing.
Yeah, well, it was really much fun. I mean, we were a bit nervous, but I think it's normal because this is like, I think, pretty much our first big league where we play. So, but I think we don't have to hide from other teams.
Agreed.
Yeah, we give our best, and we are looking forward to the challenge. We know there are some great teams in this competition, but we're looking forward to face them.
Well,
we have nothing to lose.
Hey, well, you know what? We love to hear it. Again, it was an awesome experience to see you guys today, and we look forward to seeing y'all later in the season, Cole. You have yourself a good, I guess it's probably close to the end of your night, though. You have a great rest of your evening, a great rest of your weekend, all right?
Yeah, you do the same, and thank you. We see you in the future.
All right, Cole, you take it easy, my friend. All right, chat, so that is going to be Modern Retro, actually not Modern Retro, sorry, Chronicles coming in and being convicted of murder here in our second preseason action. That is going to be winding things down as far as from us today, but we do have some more action as far as week number 1 for preseason here in Vigo's later this week. So if you're watching, you haven't already done so, I always keep pointing to the wrong side. Make sure you're checking out down there, smacking that follow button, turning those notifications on here. I think we got games at 1 and 3, and then some more games on Sunday. Don't quote me on that. I know we have games on Sunday, but I'm on vacation. I'm gonna be on the beach, so I don't know exactly what time. We appreciate you guys for hanging with us, man. Don't forget, every time we have games, if you're here and you're hanging out, don't forget to tell somebody, to tell somebody, to tell somebody about it. That's the way we grow this experience. I know a lot of people who are in the competitive scene love what we're doing here at Vigo's. I know sometimes when you go out to like the general DVD scene, there's like this negative light on comp. We can change that by continuing to bring people in and kind of see what we're actually about, show that we're a loving and inclusive community, and we can kind of go from there. I see we've got to hydrate real quick. I'm not sure if you have a drink right by you. I don't have anything in there. I have just a little bit left on my monster here, so we'll do a quick cheers to that. Yo, Spoker, I know this isn't our first time casting together, but it was an absolute blast having you over here on Vigo's Court, and I look forward to having you back over here again.
No, I'm honestly really looking forward to it. It's, as I said earlier, it's always a pleasure to be able to, I guess, cast in a whole different way, you know.
Right.
Face cam's on. You guys can see my gorgeous hair, my luscious locks, and something I used to do a while ago when I first got into casting was I would actually wear a suit and tie and get all dressed up for the occasion as well. So who knows? Maybe in the future, as things step up in Vigo's, you might see me.
Because if you do that, I feel like I have to. So I'm gonna have to put a mix on that, and I feel like I have to. You know what I mean?
We'll see how we go. I'm sure it'll be really exciting to see what's in store for Vigo's in the future. But yeah, what an awesome morning it's been for me at 6:48 a.m. in the wonderful land of Australia.
See, you're living the dream I live when we're on the flip side. We're over on OCE. You know, we're on those. So I know you're wanting to get some sleep. We're gonna let you get out of here, chat. You have an amazing rest of the morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you're at in this beautiful sphere that we call Earth. Have a great rest of your weekend, and until we catch y'all back over here on this channel, don't forget, with everything crazy going on in the world today, be true, be you, be sincere, game hard and love harder, all right? That's Spoker. I'm Q. Signing out.
That was a missed decisive strike. So before the first gen even pops.
And we do see Death Wish convicted of murder here, as you can see by the score to the final set.